What's going on, people? Back again with another video. The pagan world before Christianity. So, the good professor is enlightening us on the progression of gods and evidently of humans. So, let's get into it.
A male god takes the place of a supreme female goddess. This may well reflect the displacement of a supreme goddess by a male usurper. It may also represent a paradigm for earthly gender relations. It is certainly violent. Let us return to the epic. Marduk tramples on the demons and takes the tablets of destiny and fastens them on his own chest. He mutilates Tiamat's body to create the earth, sky, and rivers. Quote, "The Lord treads on the legs of Tiamat with his unsparing mace. He crushes her skull. When the arteries of her blood he has severed, the north wind bears it to places undisclosed. On seeing this, his fathers are joyful and jubilant. They bring gifts of homage to him. Then the Lord pauses to view her dead body, that he may divide the monster and do artful works. He splits her like a shellfish into two parts. Half of her he sets up as the sky." Marduk organizes the universe, distributes tasks to his followers. He turns demons into statues as memorials and warnings to those who would revolt. Marduk.
Now, demons into statues. Why does this sound familiar? This epic happened millennia ago. So long ago. Gargoyles. So, my understanding is that the gargoyles are placed on top of the buildings, on top of the churches, to ward off evil spirits. They are demons, frozen. Demons don't attack their own. That's the way the story is portrayed. And this is coming from the Catholics, which was thousands, if not millions of years later. So see, I say that to say that a lot of the so-called old religion, the traditional religion, it's not that old. And it seems as though they're borrowing from earlier works of literature that depict how the world came to be. And with that, let's continue.
Then turns to the creation of a temple to provide the gods with all their needs. Babylon. Ea suggests killing Kingu and using his blood to make slaves for the gods. "Blood will I mass and cause bones to be. I will establish a savage. Human shall be their name. Verily, savage humans I will create. They shall be charged with service to the gods, so that gods may be at ease." The temple Babylon is completed. The gods gathered within its walls celebrate. They receive the rites of religious worship and incense. We discover that the purpose of human beings is to worship the gods. But we may ask, do gods truly benefit from human services? The Babylonians seem to have thought so. as would many other traditionally religious peoples around the Mediterranean. Socrates and Plato will beg to differ. We will return to this topic. But for now, let us return to the epic. Marduk puts an end to the chaos of Tiamat, whose salt waters were originally mingled with the fresh waters of Apsu, that is, chaotically. Marduk has killed, cut, divided, and organized her parts. Her chaos is replaced by the order of Marduk. The simplest way to read this myth is that chaos, disorder, yields to cosmos, order. The identification of the female gender with disorder and the male with order is another pattern that will turn up again from time to time. The Enuma Elish is also a classic example of succession myth.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Cause this is it just me, or is this story giving off Holy Bible vibes? And I say that because in the beginning there was chaos, and then there was order, and that's just a rough excuse me, rough way of saying it. So in the Bible, it basically says that the earth, the world, the universe was void and shapeless, specifically the earth. So God started to create things. And as he created things, everything that he liked, he kept, and everything he didn't like, he just simply got rid of it. So that's why I brought that up. Because a lot of this stuff, you probably feel like, oh man, I can't relate to this. This stuff was written 50 million years ago. But based on what we know during our lifetime, you can kind of see the parallels. You kind of see where they got their information from. Somebody told somebody who told somebody who told somebody else, and it made it into the book. So, with that, let's go.
The Enuma Elish is also a classic example of succession myth. One generation of gods supplants or succeeds the previous generation. We will see this again in the Greek poet Hesiod's Theogony, or Birth of the Gods. Eventually, Marduk emerges as the supreme god. The Enuma Elish is also an ideological myth. That is, it explains the aitios in Greek, which is to say the reason or cause of something. It explains the origin of the world, the divine hierarchy, the reason and purpose of human life, and the origins and purpose of religious worship. This epic of creation was also part of an autumn festival of the new year that lasted 12 days. The Enuma Elish was read during this festival, during which the high priest also stripped the king of his royal insignia. The king was slapped in the face, his ears were pulled, and he was made to kneel before Marduk. After this, his royal insignia were restored. If the slap made the king cry, Marduk was propitious. The king was then once more vested with his royal authority. In its own time, The Enuma Elish was thus a text that helped establish a religious context for the Babylonian state and its system. This creation epic explains the origin of the world, its organization, and humanity's place in it, and it provides an effective pattern by which to combat evil forces. Society, whether divine or human, selects a strong man, a divine king like Marduk. The king becomes the representative of Marduk. All human beings will have their place in the social hierarchy, just as all gods have theirs. It all depends on who controls destiny, that is, who has the tablets. By the time the Greeks enter history, Mesopotamian religious culture has already long been a common inheritance of the Mediterranean. Although, as tends to happen when cultures borrow from each other, the culture that borrows adapts what it takes for its own purposes. For our own purposes, let us draw a first lesson. A text that may be read purely as a story, as myth, enjoyed deeper connections to the religion, rituals, and politics of the society from which it derives. These connections become clearer in historical context. To trace pagan religions will require us to keep track of history, at least to the extent that historical facts are available to us. Alas, we are out of time, dear students of ancient religions and cult practices. But when you return, we will visit ancient India, which enjoyed a long history indeed. Alas, that history is obscure. What connects India to the Mediterranean, especially to Greece and Rome, is a shared linguistic heritage. Sanskrit, the language of ancient India, is closely related to Greek and Latin. And hidden in the words these languages share are common religious conceptions as well. We have a lot to discuss. But until then, may your studies as well as your nights and days be auspicious.
I could do without the little spooky music at the end, but India, I did not know that. I did not know that Sanskrit was related to Latin and Greek. That is very, very interesting. Oops, sorry about that. Well, that's all for now. Hope you join in again as we go further down this rabbit hole. Next stop, India. I'll talk to you later.